If you're in a hurry, want to eat quick, and want to eat fresh, chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered straight to your door within minutes of opening that box, well, Factor's got you covered. And if you go to Factor75.com right now and use the code 50bento at checkout, you can get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. What do we got today from Factor? Potato leek mash and grilled chicken. Let's have at it. In 2 minutes, I'll be eating. Waka! With Factor, all of their food comes delivered straight to your door, fresh and ready to go, crafted by the finest chefs of the Factor 75 community. They cater to all sorts of dietary restrictions, whether you're vegetarian, pescatarian, keto-friendly, high-protein, low-carb, they got you. I'm looking forward to eating some very soon. Because 2 minutes, not a lot of time to wait for food. I got food ready to eat. Dip it in some of that mash. Factor don't miss. So go to Factor75.com. Code 50bento to check out. 50% off your first box. Plus free shipping. Thank you, Factor.
Who just broke Rule 6?
Hey, Kaiser.
Hi, Nick.
Long time no see. How you doing?
Oh my God! Like I feel like this is the first time. No, this is the first time like I've seen you. Seen you since you moved.
Since before you went to Japan, yeah.
Yeah. It's for everyone who's curious, who might not know. Nick's currently in LA. I was in Japan for 3 months.
Presently, literally surrounded by fire. It's crazy. I looked at the danger map and literally ring of fire. So it's like, okay, so dealing with that.
Yeah,
so if this gets cut abruptly short, that's why.
And right now I'm looking outside and there's nothing but snow. So it's a real interesting dynamic we got going on right now.
Real George R.R. Martin happening, as in we'll probably never be finished. While you've been gone, a whole new Dragon Ball came out. All new Dragon Ball.
Actually, it was really cool. I got to watch the episodes as they aired live in Japan. That was really neat. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Are you fluent enough that you didn't need the subtitles? Because I'm at the point where I can understand things in context, but not really follow like actual conversation threads.
I was actually as I was watching it, I was able to put together most things. It comes down to the fact that there's a ton of visual context going on. You're familiar with the characters, you're familiar with the concepts. So for the most part, it's not that tough. But yeah, I was able to keep up with a lot of it. I do need the subtitles though for the full context. So
yeah, they explain a lot of things. There's a lot of I don't want to call it necessarily retconning, but
there's some retconning.
There's some retconning for sure, but it's a lot of explanation of lore, things that. It's funny talking about this after going through and watching GT and having that immediate context within the year.
Oh, right.
Is fascinating.
Yeah, no, the fact that we just got done watching GT and now we're watching Daima, it's pretty funny.
It's kind of crazy. I know the comparisons are immediate. Goku's a kid again. This is stuff that takes place after Buu. It's like you don't have that after Z aspect of it.
Yeah.
But you still kind of do.
It's interesting because for everything that is similar to GT, there's something that's different though. It feels like that there's some things that are absolutely undeniable, but other things that are wildly different and interesting. I'm actually thinking about putting together a video that compares Daima and GT.
Yeah, I know you're talking about that, and I can see exactly why. There are so many things in this where you can see why the comparison is there for sure.
Yeah.
And beyond that, how I'm going to go out on a limb and just say that Daima is doing what GT was trying to do a lot better. Just that's my basic opinion. So, where you're taking this let's go back to kind of the basics of Dragon Ball, have this whimsical adventure, but keep the action going, keep the action really strong. Let Goku be Goku, go on this adventure in a new land with interesting, fun characters, and you keep that Toriyama sense of humor. I think it's hitting all of those notes just right, in my opinion. On my basic, front of the cover blurb.
I would say that GT was trying to do a couple of things, And some of the things that it was trying to do, Daima is just doing better. GT was also trying to do more episodic material, whereas Daima absolutely is more serialized. Obviously, there was a serialized story with GT, but we're not getting a lot of one-offs. Oh, we go to this new location and meet a lot of new characters for this one-off story. It's a lot of, well, we are going to new locations, but they're kind of all connected in a certain way. There's less isolated individual plots. It's really interesting because for me, I could go either way. I could go more episodic or more serialized. That's not necessarily my issue with one or the other. Daima's just kind of succeeding, I think, by being better presented and
for sure,
mostly better paced, and the characters just generally being more interesting and charming. Charming is absolutely the word I would use for the show so far.
Yes. No, this show is packed with charm. And one thing that I find that it does immensely better than GT is like explaining why there are limitations. Like in GT, it's just like, oh, I can't fly anymore. I can't teleport anymore. Must be because I'm a kid. And it's like, okay, I buy that. But in this, it's, okay, I'm relearning how to use my tiny body. And now I'm in this new land where the air is thicker. And, oh, why aren't we flying to travel? Because it uses up more energy. So we got to use these vehicles. It's like, okay, you're actually giving me a legitimate reason for why they aren't doing certain things. And you know what? As a viewer, I enjoy that.
Yeah. I do feel like it's a little hand-wavy at times, if only just because it feels like it brings up these ideas of, you're moving slower here because of the gas that's in the air. You need to relearn your balance, so your movements are a little bit off. And it kind of feels like, oh yeah, we introduced that early on to kind of slow the action down and make these more kung fu-esque, more realistic, less bombastic fight scenes make more sense. But
it's effective.
No, it's very effective, but it also kind of feels like it barely ever comes up again. And it feels like now we're basically back to where we would have otherwise been. I mean, I even say by episode 6, it doesn't quite feel like we're where it wanted us to be at the very beginning, where, oh yeah, there's all these limitations. It doesn't feel like there's many limitations now, but it did help slow things down at the very beginning, so at least we got more of that adventure. And the adventure does continue throughout. It's not like they abandoned that for Fighto, which,
Yeah, and that's actually, you bring up a good point, which is kind of why I want to kind of break this conversation down, because at the moment, I've seen up to 12 episodes. And you're right, where at episode 6, it seems like, okay, now we're getting into the, like, actual not necessarily climactic, but the actual Fighto essence of Dragon Ball a little bit more. Like, now that Vegeta is on the scene, and there is just more Fighto.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more action right now.
So I wanted to talk about, like, the first 6 episodes where we're getting kind of introduced to this stuff, and then in, like, a separate video, we can, like, break down the next one, and then, or the next 6, and then I don't know if we want to talk about, like, episode by episode beyond that, because at this point we're essentially caught up. I think a new episode dropped today.
Yeah,
but
I haven't actually seen that one.
Me either. Yeah, like I've been watching the Netflix drop because look, I love you, Crunchyroll. Your player is ass on my smart TV app. So like,
if I remember correctly, I think the first episode, or at least the dub premiered, and I actually do want to give that a watch.
I am interested. I am interested in hearing Nadolny as Goku again.
Yeah. While I'll never say that I think she was the perfect choice for Dub Goku, I have grown a fondness for her voice for Goku. So much more than her Gohan. I will never.
Oh yeah. She's a way better Goku. She pulls off that like hickish, like sort of wild boy way better than she does refined young man.
Yeah, it's kind of night and day for me. You could play the exact same voice and tone side by side, and if you told me, well, that one's Goku, I'd be like, that's awesome. I hear it for Gohan. I hate it. So,
I mean, it became kind of an internal meme between you, Taka, and I when we were watching through the dub to, like, you know, write DBZA, where he'd just say, dang it. It was just like Bobby Hill.
Yeah, no, it's Bobby Hill, and that's just not
dang it.
People will shit talk Colleen Klinkenbeard, and frankly,
I like her Gohan. I like her Gohan.
I still think we haven't got the perfect Gohan voice. But if you had me choose between the two of them, it's her every day, all day, every day.
Yeah. But speaking of actors and just like, I'm watching the sub, Nozawa's still fucking killing it.
Yeah,
Like,
she's so cute.
It's crazy to me. How old is she?
She's 80 something.
Yeah, an octogenarian is still killing it as Kid Goku. I can't even.
Oh my god, she's 88.
Yeah. She's almost a nonagenarian. Nani the fuck? Like, she's still killing it as Kid Goku.
And she's so it's so fascinating to me because I don't think anyone was prepared for what they did. In the first episode, speaking of casting, everyone's the same. Everyone's who they're supposed to be, minus some recast that happened because rest in peace. A couple of actors have died in the interim. Hiromi we still miss you.
Daisuke Gori.
Yeah, so many. But no one. I don't think anyone was prepared for the full recast, minus Nozawa. Like I was listening. I'm like, wait a second. Mini Vegeta is not Ryo Horikawa, and I don't know if that's Toshio Furukawa as Piccolo. And as it turns out, yeah, they recast everyone. And the interesting thing is, they don't sound exactly like children. They just sound like younger versions of the characters.
Yeah, they like it was a little off in my ear hearing Vegeta, and I'm like, huh, what's up with that? Because he still sounds like Horikawa to me, like my blind ass here.
Yeah, no, his delivery is very on point. There's a rumor going around that this is a test cast for if they need to recast any of these actors.
Which, let's be honest, they will eventually if they want to keep this franchise going. Which, I don't know if, I don't know. There's something about art outliving the artist that feels weird to me.
Yeah, I guess there is that elephant in the room. This is the first and perhaps last Dragon Ball thing from Akira Toriyama since his death. There was a rumor that there's something else that he worked on for Dragon Ball. It's just a rumor. I don't know much about it. But as far as we know, as far as has been said publicly, this is the last thing that he worked on in terms of writing at a large scale. And so that's I have watching the show with that in mind has definitely changed the context and how I've been viewing it. And also that opening theme song is like, I don't know if you know this. You may have heard about this or may have seen it on Twitter or something. The lyrics in the song actually drop Akira Toriyama's name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by with Akira Menai, and then another word that has Tori in it. Yeah, no, it drops his name throughout, and the best part is if you're watching the opening, which this isn't on Crunchyroll, so this sort of sucks. If you're watching it on Japanese television, all the anime has little subtitles at the very bottom, and in the subtitles, those parts are just in Arabic,
bolded.
Well, no, they're in. I'm gonna say English letters. That's not exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, they're Romanized, and so you just see Akira and Tori, and it's like, oh shit, okay, that means a lot.
Also, going into that song slaps. I really like that song. It gets you, it kind of gets you in the mood for, I think it's the perfect song for this show. It's playful, it's upbeat, it gets you ready for that sort of mystical adventure that they're throwing you into.
It's very mysterious too. There's this tone to it, especially when they do the bridge. That bridge is it gets me hyped so much.
The one thing I'll say about it is, at least as an intro, it kind of the cutoff point for the intro feels a little weird. It's just a fade out, immediate.
Yeah, I don't know why it's like that.
I don't know. They just didn't have a bam to hit or something. I don't know. Minor critique on that, but
yeah, it's a good opening though. But yeah,
one thing before we get into the episodes proper, what do you think about the way that they shrunk everybody down? Because Goku looks like Kid Goku, but everybody else just looks like a chibi version of themselves. Nobody looks like they did as kids in Dragon Ball, except Goku a little bit.
Fun fact: none of the material has them as Kid Goku or Kid Piccolo. They are mini Goku.
Yeah,
They are
I saw
mini
that.
Piccolo, and I find that very interesting. They've all been sort of chibified in a way.
bit.
And honestly, whatever. Like, I don't care all that much because it doesn't feel like they're. It feels like, honestly, if I hate to say it, the kid thing feels entirely unnecessary. I don't know what the idea behind it was because, frankly, nothing has changed significantly by making them kids again.
Yeah, not really. They all feel like they're still of the same power, roughly.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the power, them being kids, like, there's a couple of gags that are done with it. There's the whole gag that we got, like, it with Pansy and, like, finding out that, oh, you have a
you're married?
wife and married and you have kids, and it's like, but you're a child, and it's like,
The
oh,
outside
no.
world is weird.
Yeah, there's a couple of gags with it, but ultimately it sort of feels like this was done just because, for two reasons. One, like, just like GT did, it's trying to kind of recapture that old feeling of Dragon Ball, you know. And two, they are marketing this towards kids, and they're like, oh, well, you know, it makes sense that these kids are, like, the main characters are kids. And
It
it's
also
like,
does. It also does give the show kind of its own identity, where, you know, if you just keep them as adults, it's like, well, why not just make more Super or something like. Otherwise, it's just kind of like an elsewhere sort of story. Whereas, you know, if you change the characters themselves, at least in terms of their design, it does. Whereas if you change the characters, at least in their design, it kind of gives it its own identity, its own flavor, so that you do have this distinct separation between this, Z, Super, etc.
Yeah. Well, not this and GT, although it's got all its own things to separate it from that. But yeah, it's all right. I'm not really bothered. When I heard that this was the direction that they were going to go with the show, I was a little bit bothered because I was like, oh man, I kind of want to see where things go from the end of Super, or if we were going to do a continuation, like, besides Super, I wanted them to, like, I don't know, just. This was not the option I would have chosen. But as we've seen, it's been a fun ride, and they are doing some things that I really like. And yeah, it all kind of starts off like in that first episode. By the way, that first episode is okay. This first episode is kind of indicative of one big problem I have with the show. One undeniable problem I have with the show, and that is its pacing. You might not have been so bothered by this because you binged it. And honestly, this feels like it was a show that was made to be binged. This feels like a Netflix show and derogatory. Because oh man, that first episode is rough. Rough in that, you know, while it starts off so interesting and cool, like rewatching all this stuff, very specifically from the Boo Saga, by the way.
Yeah,
like
reanimated.
They basically reanimate the goddamn Boo Saga, which I find interesting because
It looks beautiful.
It looks gorgeous, but also, like, the Boo Saga is like one of the least popular sagas of Z, right? Like the anime specifically, and so it's interesting to see that kind of get put up front and center. We see why, because it's a huge part of the plot moving forward. But just watching it very specifically, just get this amazing treatment and seeing all of these scenes newly animated and just look fucking gorgeous. That's so cool. But also, it's a 40-minute first episode, right? And we get, like, a third of it is flashback, a third of it is introducing the bad guys, and the last third of it is catching back up with our main characters. And then the actual plot starts in the second episode. Because in that first episode, it's, like, all set up, and then when the big thing happens, when the big switch happens, that the episode ends. And it's like, all right, I'm not going to say this first episode feels pointless, but it definitely feels like if you're going to make it 40 minutes, it should have been everything. Like, it should have been everything after the recap and then most of episode 2.
Yeah, because that entire first episode, it's all like Goma, Kaishin's brother, Degasu?
Yeah, I think it's Degasu.
Degasu? Yeah, something like that.
Degasu. Yeah, Degasu.
And Arensu. That, like, it's just them, like, being like, oh yeah, Majin Buu's out there somewhere. What? It died? How? What killed Boo? What?
Yeah, watching them basically like catch up on recent events is pretty spectacular.
Oh shit,
also,
the Demon King's dead. What happened? Oh, he was messing with Boo. Wait, something killed that?
yeah, I know, right? It's a pretty great setup. I kind of like it. Also a lot of lore drops that we get. Also, I genuinely, it is amazing to me how much Toriyama's DNA is on these villains. Like when it comes to say Super, where a lot of the villains, I mean, gosh, we only get one villain in all of Super. Actually, now that I think about it, like because everybody else just kind of feels like more neutral. Here it's like, okay, these are the bad guys, and they're basically Pilaf 2.0 in a way.
Pilaf, but like with that, like if you gave Pilaf magic, like if you combined Pilaf with Bobbity, essentially.
He's funny. He's adorable. I will say, so far, and this, I don't want to jump too far ahead. It definitely feels like he's kind of the weakest part of the cast in terms of what he's actually involved in.
Yeah, I'm interested to see when he actually becomes involved in the actual plot, what's going to happen, because they dropped this thing early on where he's like, well, hold on, I need to deal with these guys because they're really strong. They could be a threat here. So let's go steal their Dragon Balls and their Namekian, because they have a Namekian. Let's go take that too. And I want this third eye thing, because that'll make me really strong. They keep dropping that. They keep dropping that little beat where it's like, okay, so this guy can become a threat given a MacGuffin.
Yeah, they kind of just keep hinting at that, and that's it. And, I think there's something that happens in the latest episode. Again, we haven't seen that one.
But we're only up to episode 12.
Yeah, but like in 12 episodes, he does one important thing and then kind of just nothing. And it's not so bad because there's other stuff going on. It's not like the rest of the plot is being kept up by him. Yeah. It's just also like, hey, you're kind of like the big bad here. And it feels like he's kind of a background character right now.
He's kind of the big bad. The show kind of presents Arinsu as like the actual threat because she's the one that's kind of conniving, like a conniving Kai witch, essentially.
From moment one, by the way, I loved Arinsu.
I adore her. I am enjoying this Dragon Ball waifu renaissance we've been getting over the past decade.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Arinsu is kind of perfect for the role that she plays. In fact, again, not going to jump too far forward with details, but like where her plot's going right now and the way her character is interacting with it, I love it. It's so good. And it really goes to show you kind of like the difference that Toriyama feel where there's just this way the characters interact that always kind of feels just a little aloof, just a little like there's just this je ne sais quoi. And it's
like nothing is. Everything sacred isn't sacred. Like, is basically how it's treated. It's like, oh yeah, we got Dragon Balls, and here's our goofy old Namekian who knows everything. Like he's the eldest of all Namekians. He's the only one in Demon Realm. He knows how to reactivate inert Dragon Balls, and he'll just like he can break the rules, do his shit.
Yeah. So and like that was so fascinating because in the first couple of episodes, we're basically told, oh yeah, by the way, the Namekians. They actually demons, which I'm all about, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm 100% about like, oh, hey, we want to make Piccolo Daimao still a demon, which honestly, you could have done that anyway. I think even an alien can have demons. That doesn't make sense that you can't have demon aliens, right? And this kind of does that too, because this is basically like, well, it's another planet from another dimension, right? So, he's basically still an alien.
What's really the difference? Yeah.
Yeah, but like, oh yeah, they're just a race of demons. Oh, okay. But
they're from the demon world. They all got them pointy ears.
But the interesting thing is, demon here isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's sort of a neutral term, and I like that. I like the idea of because I don't know if you ever saw Sandland. Did you ever see Sandland?
No.
Okay. Yo. Watch the first half of Sandland and the second half of Sandland. It's still good, but like
watch both halves.
Yeah, watch both halves. But the first half is really where it's at because that was the one that's based off of the manga that Toriyama wrote, and the second half is kind of like new stuff that he just kind of gave some bits to. But this this entire show feels very reminiscent of Sandland, where it's involving the demon world, a demon king, the son of the demon king going on an adventure. That obviously inspired this, and the feel is almost 1-to-1 in places, and I love it because I loved Sandland, and I love this idea of, oh yeah, this whole mystical race of demons and these other creatures and this other hierarchy and this whole other world that just kind of operates on its own rules, and that's so cool.
Right.
And yeah, it's been really neat just to kind of get introduced to that slowly, and just kind of like have it change things that were kind of previously established. Again, it's sort of a retcon that takes the retcon back, like by making them demons. I find that so neat.
Yeah, no, I do like that aspect of it, where it's like, okay, yeah, we all came from this different realm. It's just the demon world. That's where, Deborah was king. He came to Earth, or he came to Universe 7, got, enthralled by Bobbity, and, shit happened from there. Turns out a lot of people came there through a giant goldfish that's just omnipresent in every universe, I guess.
Yeah. Yo, I love that fucking fish. I love that fish. And he's not a goldfish. How dare you?
I'm sorry.
But
a design's a design.
So, one other thing I want to note, the CG in this show is really good. It's sometimes really obvious, but it's still good. And that's... Oh my God. I'm so happy because honestly, the use of CG in this show has vastly opened up what they can do with the environment. And
the technology has gotten so much better. Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate that because I remember back in the day, they were talking about like, yeah, we want to use more CG in Dragon Ball. And like, I just kind of shuddered and cringed at the idea. There's almost like none of it. As far as I can remember in Super, like they probably use it.
Resurrection F is probably like the movie itself was probably like the worst example I can think of.
Yeah, the movies kind of started it because we got the first of it, and I'd say the worst of it was actually in Battle of Gods. Battle of Gods looked.
I don't remember the CGI in that.
Oh, then your mind is trust me, the CGI in Resurrection F is significantly better than the CG in Battle of Gods.
Okay.
And then by the time we got to Broly, it's good. You can tell when it's happening, and it's a little jarring, but it's way better than the both of them. And then by the time
Superhero, which is all CGI,
which is a little bit of a like it's you can't really compare them because
that's like the the level.
Yeah. That being said, though, the CG in Superhero is good. So, but yeah, here. Great, it's opened up the environments a lot. It helps give a scale to things, and I really like that. And also, you're getting some really cool visual effects around like certain characters. Just that the CG is helping to supplement. I really appreciate that. In fact, the compositing in general so much better than Super. Like all of the special glowy stuff that they're doing for the effects, the attacks and stuff, nothing is blocking the action. And that means so much after all the garbage we got in Super.
Yeah. So they all get turned into kids because Goma's like, okay, we can't deal with them as they're like, this strong. They get nerfed down into, I guess, chibified versions of them. I won't lie. Part of me did kind of want to see like chubby cheeked little Piccolo that we got in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
But I'll live. I'll live with just tiny Piccolo. They have some fun gags. One of which that I was kind of amused by was in the back of my head I'm like, he just turned every one of them into kids. What if because like the thought came into my head, it's like, okay, all of them were just turned into babies. What's going to happen to Boo? No, Boo's just a chibi version of Fat Boo. I thought for a second, I was like, oh God, they brought back Kid Boo. Oh no.
That's actually kind of a funny idea. Although,
yeah.
Little Boo. I'm a little bit sad.
He's only in one shot, but he's adorable in it.
I know, right? And I'm a little bit sad that we got all these mini versions of the characters, right? Mini Roshi is so good. He gets like one scene and he's perfect.
Yeah, most of the characters only get like that one scene and then they're gone because it's just Goku, Piccolo, Bulma, and Vegeta and Kai.
It's interesting to me that like So out of the characters that they chose to pull from, it's like, yeah, we're gonna get Vegeta and Piccolo with Bulma in there because Bulma needs to be the it's kind of not Dragon Ball without Bulma in a way, and I appreciate that. It's kind of nice. Although, interestingly, in the main plot, Bulma's role is being filled by Pansy, so
Right?
that's interesting.
Yeah, Pansy's the mechanic of the crew.
Yeah. But yeah, it is a little bit sad that we get this whole opening sequence like, oh, and oh my god, young Mr. Satan. Like, I love how Vegeta's like, who the hell
Who's
are
this
you?
guy? Who the hell is this?
That's so good. I love that. It is also the whole joke where Goten and Trunks are babies, but they still have their mind, and they're like, whatever.
They're like
great.
telepathic. It's like, ah.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but
Maybe it's
whatever.
'cause
I
they
don't care.
fuse, so they just they're in each other's brains. I don't know.
Yeah, sure, fine. Yeah, okay.
Or maybe they're speaking like the secret baby language from Baby Geniuses.
That is it. There you go.
Or Rugrats, if that's your flavor, which it should be.
I do think it's rather funny. And they're, like, all of it is very cute. And I'm just a little bit sad that we're probably not going to get any more scenes with the rest of them, unless we get like this scene where we cut back to Earth, which I don't think that's probably going to happen.
I don't know why they do that unless they wanted to do like a slice of life something. I mean, they left Kibito behind, so.
Yeah, little Kibito is back. I love how little Kibito still looks old.
Yeah. He's just always been old. He came off the tree that way.
Right. Also, yeah. Oh man, it is so interesting to watch them explore a bunch of stuff that Toriyama wrote for all of this lore. He wrote a bunch of stuff that only ever made it into like supplementary material, and now we're actually seeing it expressed on the page, and I think that's really interesting.
So they all got turned into kids. Like everybody involved in, I guess, Boo's defeat, or like, everybody who's strong. Do you think 17's out there somewhere still normal aged, or do you think he just like randomly became a toddler?
That's actually a really interesting question. I don't know if I've actually thought too much about that.
I don't think the show's gonna pay it any mind, but it's just a fun little thing. Were Tien and Chaozu there? Would Chaozu have changed at all? I don't.
Actually, I forget. Was 18 there?
She was there with Krillin, wasn't she?
I can't remember. I'm gonna say probably. Did we get mini Android 18? Did that happen?
I don't know. We'll probably be cutting to like footage and shit.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Yeah. It did happen. Oh yeah. I forgot. She looks so silly. I because she's got that, like, she's just tiny. She looks like a Peanuts character.
Which, to be fair, most of the Dragon Ball characters did. So
it's true.
Just blocky body, big head.
But yeah, it's 17. You know what? I'm going to assume yes. Well, actually, no. Actually, 17 probably not, because I believe they chose very specifically the people that
only the people that were dealing with Boo.
Yeah, so 17. Oh my god, it'd be really funny. 17 just drops by and then sees 18 like that and just totally confused what the hell's going on.
When did you have another daughter?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Marin?
Yeah. But yeah, so cool alien dude shows up, Glorio. Like,
yeah,
he's like, "Hey, you gotta come to Demon World. We need you.
Yeah.
Get in my space plane."
He definitely, Glorio definitely feels like a Toriyama character in terms of like his design and his attitude. Like, he's just this like no nonsense guy who's here to get the job done, and I kind of
too cool for school. Just
I've really liked his characterization and the way that he, like, we don't get too much of like what's going on with him in the first 6 episodes, but enough to make him really intriguing. I like the fact that Shin very quickly catches on to, hey, there's more going on with this guy.
He's
than
up
we
to
think.
something, and Goku's like, who cares?
Right? Yeah, no, he's like, meh, like,
which is very Goku.
Yeah, something happens. We'll deal with it. It's fine. It's fine.
I got this. Whatever. Scheming. I don't know. He'll be my friend by the end of this. I'm never gonna say his name right.
Right? Yeah, no. Which is a kind of funny running joke. Like,
what's weird is I find Glorio's name easier to remember than whatever the fuck Goku calls him. It's like Glorilo or something.
Well, it's because the name is Glorio. So he's probably getting like tripped up on the Rori, like Glorio, and so he's probably like Glorio, like
Grillo.
It's just, yeah, Gorilla.
Frank Grillo.
Which I'm very curious to see what they do in the dub for that one. But yeah, it's a funny enough running joke. I like I don't know. Gosh, I can't remember. So I remember all the way, like everything that happened in the plot. What happens in those first 6 episodes exactly is a little tougher for me, because in the first 6 episodes we don't even get to the first Tamagami fight.
No,
Tamagami.
This is more like you're exploring Demon World. Like this is kind of like the actual like adventure side of it, where you're getting introduced to the world, because Glorio shows up after Dende got kidnapped. Also, we see that Mr. Popo wears a turban because he's hiding little tiny horns, I guess.
Which, oh my god, biggest lore drop of the show.
Popo.
Yeah,
baby Popo's got horns.
I honestly kind of love it. It gives him like, it makes him kind of feel like an Oni, and I sort of dig that for him. I feel like, hey, if you're going like, and I also think that's accurate to the creature that he's based off of in like, I think it's Indian lore. I can't remember. Was that Toriyama's idea? Like, hey, by the way, he's got horns. I'm so curious because it's a great design choice. I love it.
Like once this show is done, I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of behind the scenes kind of things like revealed over time. So I'll be interested to see like how much of this was like Toriyama's by design and how much of it was other input. But yeah, little tiny Popo, they take Dende, little baby Dende, and they just kind of like scurry him away. And the only time we see him when they cut back to him is they're just like reading him bedtime stories. Like, yeah, we got another Namekian. Hello, little guy. So they go to the Demon World. It's just Goku, Glorio, and Shin.
Yeah.
Because they can only fit that many people on the plane that they have. Bulma stays behind to repair a different plane, which, oddly enough, they just kind of drop as a plot device.
Yeah, so this show does that a lot, and it's kind of annoying. Like I said with the pacing, this show likes to introduce concepts and then work around them at the last second, or drop them, or just, like, do you know how many planes they go through?
They go through a lot of planes.
It's so dumb. It is the worst.
They're
part
running
of the show.
GTA out there in the Demon World. People are just stealing planes left and right.
Yeah, it
run up, press triangle.
It's the worst part of the show, by far. But in that regard,
I don't mind it that much.
Yeah,
I think once it became a running thing, I'm like, okay, this is just a thing.
But I don't know, because it never feels like a joke. It just kind of feels like they did it again. Like it never.
A little.
Like,
but I don't think it like hurts it too much for me. It's just like I guess this is just how this world works. People will walk up, take your plane, and leave.
As somebody who prefers economic storytelling, it's annoying.
That's fine.
And that's also something that the show unfortunately does, is that in terms of economical storytelling, this feels a little bit too first passy, because there are a lot of moments where it'll introduce these concepts to you, right? Where, oh, yeah, you're from this part of the demon realm, aren't you? And it's just him asking it straight out, instead of having it involved, like in that scene later where a bunch of dudes corner him at the bar, like, oh, you're like, and I'm talking about Shin, right? Because, Glorio asks him, like, oh, you're from the
second layer, or the first layer, or something.
What is it, Glyn? Yeah, you're like,
Glint.
you're a Glyn.
He's from the Glind tribe, the Glind trees.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, he's just gonna ask him that straight out, which is fine. It's not like it's out of character or goes against the story. But then we have a scene later where that's actually plot relevant. Why didn't it just come up there? And also,
maybe they felt the need to like seed the idea so that they could explain it more later. I don't know.
But then you also have like scenes where, oh yeah, like your body is slow due to the gas. And then we get a scene later where he tries to fight, but he's slow due to the gas, and he has to have it explained again. And it's like, okay, why not just have the scene where he's fighting and they have to explain, oh yeah, it's because of gas in the air.
Show's made for babies.
I know. But I feel like there are plenty of stories made for kids that know how to do economic storytelling, where they show it happening, and that is how these things are established. It's just, the show tells a lot.
I honestly, since they do it in like a couple different episodes, like where they show like, oh, the arrows are moving slow, he's moving slow. Maybe it's one of those kind of serialized television things where this is the first time you're watching it. Let's explain it again.
Yeah.
Like make sure you're up to date on the info. This is why they're slow, because the air is thick.
I mean, there's definitely, like, in terms of writing a story, you definitely want to occasionally remind whoever's reading or watching, oh, by the way, remember, these are the rules. But it got a little...
Yeah, because they drop the info like multiple times of like, yeah, those are the dark clouds. We don't want to go into those. You'll die. They say that a lot. And then it, as of yet, has not come up as like, I expected it to be a problem at some point where like they're flying over it and they're fighting. It's like, oh man, I'm dropping down into the clouds, but that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. It's again, it's not a terrible thing. It's just the biggest the biggest glaring flaw in this show. And I feel like it's worth bringing up because the show is good and very good in a lot of places. I just want to be able to cover the stuff that I think that we probably could have used a second pass. And again,
I think some of this comes down to, again, how, like what you were saying earlier, our experiences watching this. I binged it. Like, I watched the first 2 episodes. I'm like, I'm going to give it a few more and then I'll binge it later. Yeah. So then I went back once we had 12 episodes out and I'm like, okay, yeah. So I'm watching this all in one go, just kind of experiencing it in a binge watch, whereas you're watching it week to week. It's like, we're using more time to explain this again. I can see where you're coming from there. I really liked these first 6 episodes where we're exploring the demon world, learning how the place works, seeing this sort of fiefdom, almost medieval-like society where you got these little villages with their quirky little diners, seedy bars, and very unique-looking demons here and there outside of the main cast of soldiers, which are just kind of those lanky purple dudes. I like the bird guys, the wolf people, all of the different designs for kind of the thugs that we get.
Yeah, again, so much of Toriyama all throughout all of these. It is fascinating to compare this with GT. GT's original characters didn't look anywhere close to what Toriyama was coming up with back in the day or now. Mm-hmm. All of the characters here feel like they're straight out of Toriyama's.
Even the basic ass demon bandit looks so much more unique than almost anything in GT. And
they're very simple too. They're such simple designs, but they're effective in that way. They don't feel like they've got a billion things going on to make up for the fact that they're kind of simple or one note. They're simple, they're effective designs, and that is again one of the ways that this show has just been so charming to watch.
Yeah, I could easily see this show being adapted into an adventure RPG. That's how this world feels.
That's what they did with Sandland.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Sandland, I can't stress enough, the comparisons between Sandland and this are strong.
Yeah, we get all of these lore drops as they're wandering around and examining, learning about this world. We learn that the Kais come from trees. We learn that the Namekians originally came from this place. Everybody with pointed ears, that's a demon, and they came from this world at one point. And it's fun exploring this place, kind of getting some old plot beats, where they meet Pansy, and I could see the trope immediately. Oh, she's this little ragamuffin. She's wearing a mask. She's going around causing trouble for the ruling class. She's going to be somebody of import in their society, and sure enough, she was a princess. Her dad, the king, kind of filling in this sort of Ox King-like role. And then we finally get, we let Goku loose, where he's actually fight. I like the bar fight scene, but I really like the scene where he had to fight all of the little demon dudes to prove himself to the king.
Yeah, before that, we'd gotten 2 fight scenes. We'd gotten the one against the bar fight, which again, the bar fight is so good. It's a great tone to set. The second one was against the gendarmerie, which, by the way, I don't know why they went with gendarmerie. It's such a weird term. They could have just gone with royal guard, but they went with gendarmerie. So I don't know. I'm wondering if the dub does that. I definitely got to watch the dub to see if they kept gendarmerie or they went with Royal Guard. I would have just gone with that because, yeah. But
It does make them sound more unique because that is a very unique word.
yeah, but yeah, the first like the third fight scene that we get, and I think kind of one of the most impressive and interesting ones is in fact when it's like, oh yeah, everybody just go as hard as you can. Like
We need to make sure this kid can do what he says he's gonna do. So fight him. He's like, all right, I could use a warm up. I could use some training. He's like, training. Just goes and like wrecks them. And the first time we see Super Saiyan in this show is just him powering up to like blow people away. And I kind of like that. Where it's like, he's not doing it to be serious in a fight. He's just showing like, okay, can I still do this? Wah! Yep.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I like that because it's a great hint at like, yeah, by the way, Super Saiyan's still a thing, but he don't need it yet. So don't like, I appreciate them building up to that because for a lot of Dragon Ball fans, Super Saiyan's nothing new. But in this regard, in this new show, working up to it again, there is something I really appreciate about that. Where it's not just going to be like, yeah, we're just going to whip it out and it's going to use it. And no, we're not going to have characters just get new forms. And I like that. It's it's neat to see them how they're going about that.
Mm-hmm. Like, they still treat Super Saiyan like it's special, unlike GT, where, like, the first time we get Super Saiyan is when, the first time Trunks goes Super Saiyan lifting bricks, I'm like, I'm sorry, you're disrespecting the form with that. Like,
Yeah.
you need something behind it. At least Goku just, like, powering up to, like, throw some people away. It's not like he's disrespecting the form. It's like, yeah, I can do this. Because the first time he goes Super Saiyan for real is when he's like, when Glorio's stepping up, is like, you know what? I can handle you if I wanted to. And Goku's like, let's go. All right, let's try this.
Yeah, we'll get into that one because
Yeah.
that episode is so fascinating to me.
It's a fun fight too.
Yeah. It is.
But yeah, eventually Goku essentially proves himself to the king. He's like, yeah, no, I can get these Dragon Balls. So can we have a plane? Can we have some stuff? A lot of the side characters surrounding that king I really like that one fat dude who ends up going to collect
Oh my God, what is his name again?
Vegeta. I don't remember his name, but I love him.
Hold on. Hybis.
Yeah,
Oh my
fantastic.
God.
MVP
Hybis is
so far.
I love everything about him. He's just he's just vibing all of the time. But at the same time, he also doesn't take anybody's shit. It's great.
He's like, hey, I gotta go to the salon, man. I got a date later. Why am I doing this? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go eat chips.
I love every time he antagonizes the characters because it's always
I guess you can come along if you'll be my girlfriend. That's my wife! I'm fine with that. I loved that. That
Your
whole reaction. I'm okay with that. I'm not!
Your husband's short. I know we're skipping a little bit ahead, but learning that
he's fantastic. I love him.
Learning that Vegeta's a boob man is canonical. Like that, I
you
love
like
that.
big titties, huh?
Yeah, I'm big fan. I love that. But so yeah, Hybis is great. Pansy's interesting because I like her. There's nothing I dislike about Pansy.
There was a part in early on where she started being kind of naggy that I was worried that she was going to be that throughout, but no,
Yeah.
she's actually fine as a character, and I actually kind of like the role she fills.
She's not as naggy as Bulma. She's not as useless as Pan. But the problem we find there, for me, is that she does sort of feel like there's one moment in the show, maybe two, where she is a problem character. Where one, her introduction, she needs to be saved, which is okay. I'm fine with that. It's a great setup.
She's often in the situation where she needs to be protected,
but and then the other time was when she packed too much into the plane. And those are the two times where it feels like her character has had a flaw or a problem that the plot has to deal with. Otherwise, she's kind of perfect.
I will say the latter problem that you had, I think, was more a problem with the king, because he was the one shoveling shit onto that plane, because I think he wanted to be like overly protective of his daughter and, just wanted to like seem generous, but the plane he gave them was shit. So
I mean, she wanted it too. She was sad to see her stuff go, but in that regard, it's just kind of like, yeah, she doesn't have, I guess part of it is just it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot going on with her character. She's fun, she's good, she's effective. I like the role she serves in the plot, but it definitely feels like she doesn't have a whole lot of development going on.
She's there to be the person to witness how strong Goku is and point it out, which kind of isn't necessary, but on the other hand, it's like there is a sort of charm to having that he's that strong character there, because Glorio can't be that. Because he has to be the mysterious tough guy.
Although
Shin can't be that because he was already that.
Yeah, Shin be known, okay? Although Glorio also has his moments where he's like, "Oh shit, okay, I thought I was ready, but I was not."
Yeah, I really like that scene. Like after they travel the world a little bit, we get introduced to the sensu bugs and I guess fusion bugs.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna come back.
Waiting for that to pop up, like waiting for that particular Vegeta Goku.
I think it'd be really cute if when they fuse, it makes him an adult again.
You don't want like a little like Tanks Vegeta.
It's not that I don't want it. I would be okay with it. I just think it would be kind of cute is it like, it also adds their ages together. And then it makes them an adult again. I think that would be a cute way to kind of like, especially because, and I will say this, the action so far has been pretty good. Mm-hmm. But there is a reason that Goku goes back to get his Nyoibo. He has short little legs and arms. Toriyama very specifically aged Goku up because the more dynamic the action got, the harder it was to make that action work with a character with such stubby arms and legs. And we're seeing a little bit of that here and there. Again, like the big action scenes that we see later, they're struggling a little bit with the fisticuffs and the hands-to-hands.
But at the same time, the sort of primary threat characters we've introduced are also small. So...
But I doubt they're going to stay that way.
We'll see.
All I'm saying is, it's a thing for later. I'm very curious to see because obviously they're going to use the fusion bug. It would be really weird if they didn't, right?
Yeah, to drop that bit of info and then never use it would be kind of weird. Although I might respect them for it.
Oh no, just storytelling for the sake of lore for the sake of lore. Oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. Also, the fact that they made them bugs is like, okay, all right.
It also leads to like a fun little interaction later because we know Vegeta doesn't like bugs.
I love that.
Here, you want one of these and it'll make you feel better. I don't want it. What? I thought, come on, you used to eat critters. I've grown up.
But yeah, and so in those first 6 episodes, yeah, it's a lot of adventure stuff. It's a lot of
introduction.
Yeah,
I love the gross food that they show off, and of course Goku's just all about it. I mean, he eats bugs. He eats like weird lizards on his mountainside.
He eats hamburgers that look like they are a month out of date.
Yeah.
Apparently the food is still good.
Goku loves it.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I will say, so as I've talked about the characters, I'm really glad. Some people have talked about this and thought that like Piccolo should have gone along with them. And I think there is an argument for Piccolo of being the guy who went along with Goku. But I really like Shin as the guy who's going along with Goku for 2 reasons. One, he's very much he is a great guide to a lot of the Demon World stuff.
He's able to explain it.
Yeah, he knows enough about it. He's a little out of date, so he still needs some help, but he's a great character who already knows enough, that already knows Goku. When I first heard that Shin was going to be the character to go along with him, I was really like confused. I was like, when Shin? That's the guy, the character who was originally like kind of introduced as the new Trunks with the Buu Saga, who ended up being a total bitch. That's the guy we're having to go along with Goku? Okay. But the dynamic between them has been great. I love it because Shin is that guy who's like, no, I already know everything that Goku's about. Also, he's really polite and friendly, which is a great balance to Goku, who's friendly but not polite.
Yeah, whereas Piccolo's like stern, surly, but kind of polite.
Yeah, so you get this great dynamic with the two of them, and a lot of really funny jokes. Like, yeah, I love every time Goku does something that makes Shin like cringe or like, oh, come on, man.
Can you please just be like, please stop, please don't insult the giant galactic transport fish.
Yeah,
We need him.
Also, like him having to use his magic to give Goku pointy ears at times, is I like that. That's so neat. Shin, I think Shin has actually been a surprise standout character for the show for me. And I'm really glad that he's there. It definitely feels like Glorio and Shin are the two characters who are getting the most development and feel most entwined with the story. But in that regard, I will say Goku feels like he's the least. He's definitely a character
He doesn't need it though.
There's an argument to be made there, and I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. I am saying our ostensive main character definitely feels like he is a secondary character, and that's interesting because he's the guy who's pushing the plot forward by beating the bad guys, but he feels like a plot device right now, a little bit like he did in GT. Now, the writing for him's better here in terms of the jokes that he gets and the way he's characterized. Way bigger fan here than of him in GT. And I didn't even hate him in GT. Yeah. But
he's more involved in the plot than he was at the early points of GT.
Oh, yeah. And it doesn't feel like... I mean, okay, it does feel like a little bit like, hey, we need to move the plot forward, so Goku, get in there. But he's sort of set up to be that.
Yes.
Instead of in GT where it just kind of feels like, oh, okay, well, we're up against, like, the plot has now progressed to where we cannot move forward. Goku, get in there and Kamehameha.
We're fighting the load-bearing boss. Goku, can you handle this one?
Yeah.
We need somebody to throw a Kamehameha at this thing.
Yeah, here it's like, okay, we all know Goku is the guy to fight, but everybody else has established parts of the plot where they're also contributing. So it works. It's fine. Mm-hmm. It's just it is a little bit interesting to look at Goku and just kind of see that in terms of character, he is a little bit of the weakest out of the four. But he's
also like the most developed character among the cast.
Yeah, and with Goku, you didn't have a whole lot of development you could do with the first place.
You don't have to. Like,
yeah.
I think he serves his purpose perfectly here.
Yeah,
like he's just like he is about that adventure life. He is here to have fun, fight new things, eat new food.
Yeah. And in that regard, he's serving the plot well. He's fine. It's just, there's a part of me that is wondering, like, hey, are we going to get a part where Goku actually is challenged? Like, and I don't just mean...
I'm sure we will.
And I don't just mean in a fight. I wonder if there's anything that's going to challenge him on a personal level that's going to push him. Because in Super... There were a lot of places where it challenged Goku as a character that I really would have liked more if the story there had been better. Here, we don't get any of that. There's none of, oh, hey, this is why you're struggling to move forward in your training. There's nothing that critiques Goku as a character. That was the stuff in Super that I would have, in a better told version of that, I would have really loved to have seen. Here, no. And, it's not bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Goku here feels like that, in the best ways, generic shonen protag, like Gon if he wasn't an absolute psychopath.
Oh, I don't know if I would go that far.
I mean...
Because, well, like, I will say with Gon has a lot of development that he has to go through.
Yes, but I mean, like, that just, like, upbeat energy, that energy of, I'm here for the fun of it. I like all of you guys. I want to fight you. Like, I'm not here to kill nobody. Unlike Kid Goku, who was all about that bloodshed.
Kid Goku, man. It was
Kid Goku, I don't even think he was necessarily, like, intentionally killing things. It was just like, that's a consequence.
Yeah, no, for him, it was really just kind of a matter of, oh, well, if you die, you die. I mean, you're the one who came at me, so...
But yeah, like early Hunter x Hunter Gon, where he's just like, I'm here to have fun. Let's go do this stuff. Hey, you have a skateboard. Let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
That's the kind of energy that he exudes, and I'm about that. Because Goku knows that there's nothing here that's really a threat to him. He's here to, collect Dende, save, get the Dragon Balls, which I guess there are only 3 that they need in this world.
Yeah.
There's this weird dude that's like, being their kind of shepherd who's being quiet and mysterious this whole time. And Shin's just like, I don't know about this guy. And we learn in, I think, episode 6 that he's been talking to Arinsu this entire time. Where, like, they're collecting Dragon Balls for her.
I can't remember when we find that out. That is the trouble of
the delineation of episodes. It's around episode 6 though. It's either there or directly after that we learn that she's talking to him, and basically like he's in her pocket. But we finally get that stand down, that moment of like they're camping out in a cave. And a big angry bull monster who's voiced by the same guy that voices Yuppie in Hunter x Hunter. I recently rewatched Hunter x Hunter.
Fumihiko. That's Fumihiko Tachiki. He's also
as soon as I heard his voice, I'm like, Yuppie.
Yeah, he's also the best character from Bleach. Oh wow, why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden?
I haven't watched Bleach in forever, so.
Well, yeah, but you know who I'm talking about. Big spiky hair guy.
Eye patch guy, yeah.
Eye patch, yeah. Fucking, wow. How am I forgetting his name? Anyway, he's... Kenpachi! Yeah. There it is.
Kenpachi, okay. Yeah, so the bull shows up. It's like, you're in my territory. I'm going to eat you. And meanwhile, Goku and Glorio are just like arguing. He's like, you want to take this outside? All right, let's take this outside. Goku's like, all right, finally, I get to see what you're about. And Shin says the most unnecessary shit possible. It's like, Goku, I want to see how strong he is. It's like, Goku's like, yep.
It is. So it's interesting because it feels like it kind of comes out of nowhere. In a way, it sort of feels like, okay, we want another action scene here, and we kind of want to establish, like...
It's been building a little.
Just a little bit. Like, look, I'm not going to say it's not bad. Like, when I saw it happen, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what they're doing. They want to give us a scene where we can see what Glorio can do. And I like that. I do. I appreciate...
I like his lightning powers, his weird lightning whip.
Yeah, so... Very interesting how in this universe, ki is not something that's understood.
Yeah, which they point out a lot. It's like Goku's like, wait, how did you know that thing was there? Oh, he can sense its ki. What's ki?
Yeah, that's neat. And also kind of gives different rules for rules that Goku doesn't have to follow, but rules that other characters have to, and that makes it for sort of an interesting dynamic. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to play much into the plot moving forward. It definitely sort of feels like it's just kind of there for like flavor right now.
I think it's a fun delineation between magic and martial arts magic.
Yeah. With Glorio and his lightning stuff, by the way, again, this it really comes down to the compositing here. The visual effect on the lightning is so cool. Mm-hmm. It looks really neat. And just everything that they do in that scene, like, not only is it a cool action scene, I love how it escalates and how it ends. I don't know. It's cool. It works.
I like that whole scene a lot because Glorio is like, he knows his mission is to essentially like get the Dragon Balls from them. So there might be a point in this where he has to come to blows with Goku, and this is a way for him to kind of test out Goku. And he realizes how out of his depth he is when Goku's like, they're fighting, and it looks like it's relatively even though Goku has the upper hand throughout this entire thing. He shows off his magic. Goku's like blocking it with the Noibo. And then Goku's like, okay, let's get serious now. Goes Super Saiyan, ends it immediately.
Yeah.
I love that shot where he cracks him in the gut with this, like the power pole. And you just get that boom, slam into a mountain. And Goku's just like behind him immediately like, you're done, kid.
Yeah. It's really great. And I also love that Bull character. Like, hit all of his jokes in that entire scene. It all works out. The fact that he gets totally sidelined immediately and like
just sound like
yeah, it's really good. It's weird to me that he's in the opening and then immediately after that episode he gets replaced by a still of Pansy's family.
Yeah.
And like it's mostly weird because you have all this beautiful animation where originally there was this beautiful animation of that bull and then the replacement is a still frame. And it's like, oof, okay, that hit.
It rings a little of the Tournament of Power opening when Boo got replaced by Frieza.
Well, yeah, but at least the animation there was good.
Yeah, at least there's still free animation. I don't know why they felt the need to replace him in the opening. Especially because he's a good-looking Minotaur character, too.
Yeah. It's interesting. But Yeah, so those first 6 episodes.
That's the first 6 episodes, and we've been talking about this for about an hour now. So I do think this is a good cutoff point to switch over, because it does also kind of change pace from here. But what about you guys out there? How have you been enjoying Daima so far? We're going to talk about the next 6 episodes in the next video, so maybe that'll be probably less than an hour, but still.
I don't know. I feel like
there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in that second half. But yeah, I've really been enjoying the show so far. There are things I would have changed, some things I would have improved, but ultimately, I'm really curious to see where it's going to go. As I said before, I sort of envy you being able to binge these, because the pacing episode to episode has been a little tough.
And I guess I'll experience that from this point forward, but we'll get to that later, because for now, next 6 episodes, we're going to talk about that after I go to the bathroom. So that's this one.
All right, see you next week, probably, I guess.
Brought to you by Surfshark, maybe. I don't know, whatever.